Hello and welcome to Charter Local Edition Northwest. I'm Dana Cowley and my guest today is Scott Keller. He is the Executive Director with the Port of Benton. And Scott, thank you so much for joining us.
Dana, thank you for asking me.
We appreciate it. And you've had a big project in Prosser you've been working on for about 10 years and it's really starting to come to fruition now.
It is, the Walter Clore Wine and Culinary Center. We purchased the land for it about 10 years ago, and there were a couple of groundbreakings that didn't come through, and the money, we had some grant monies that were stalled a little bit in the state and the federal level. But finally, we were able to put together the project and get the ground broken about a month ago.
And so that's coming right along. When do you expect to have it completed?
Should be completed sometime October, November of this fall.
Wonderful.
Yes.
And this is a fairly sizable building, about 1,500 square feet?
It's about 15,000 square feet, and it's about $3.5 million actual building cost.
And where is that money coming from?
$2.1 million is coming from the state of Washington in a grant through the State Economic Development Association. And another $1.4 million is coming from a federal Economic Development Association. So almost the entire cost of the building is coming from grants in both federal and state.
And as people come from the Portland and Seattle areas or coming from Spokane, as they're going through, say they start in Walla Walla, get into the Tri-Cities, work their way up into Yakima, maybe the Kittitas Valley, you're seeing this as a central hub for people stopping and touring, and maybe a magnet for people as they tour from the whole region. Absolutely,
it will be a magnet. It's the history of the wine industry in the state of Washington, how it got started. They're going to have displays, exhibitions, and basically a museum, a wine museum, and it's going to be a great educational project for the state and hopefully the Northwest.
And please tell us a little bit about Walter himself, the man that this is named after, his contributions.
Walter Clore, my understanding is he worked for the Iraq Prosser Washington State University Extension up in Prosser. He was the first gentleman or first person to actually plant wine grapes to see if it would grow in this area. And with the fertile soil and the latitude being similar to France, and with water, of course, and I mean, it just, the wine industry took off with the vineyards and everything else. So it's just a wonderful, wonderful story behind him.
Well, and that transition has happened so rapidly because if you drove through this valley in the late 80s, it was orchards from, you know, the Olympic Mountains all the way over down into Spokane, and now it's wine country.
It's a lot of vineyards, and well, that's where the money is. And we had one of our tenants who started about mid-1980s at Hogue Cellars Winery. And there's a great example of what can happen, and very few vineyards at that time in the mid-80s. And they became, I think, the third or the fourth largest winery in the state, and they sold out to a larger company. But that was kind of the start, about the mid-80s as top as production.
It's changed. Well, thank you so much, Scott. I really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
Scott Keller, the Executive Director with the Port of Benton. Thank you for watching. I'm Dana Cowley, and this is Charter Local Edition Northwest.